This is Lady Myya. I am here with Matthew Ferry. He is a master life coach, spiritual teacher, best-selling author, podcaster, and blogger. Okay, so you guys, he's got a lot of hats on. Okay, a lot. I'm exhausted just explaining. This is what I'm telling you. Well, you guys, please say hello to Mr. Matthew, my Mayan tribe.
What is up, everybody? Hello there.
Yes, sir. Okay, so you having all these hats, I did not know where to go or how to start. But you know what? We're just going to start with question one. How about that?
Let's do it.
Okay. So what type of coach is a master coach?
A master life coach is something that my PR agent came up with to describe what it was that I had been doing, because I created my own methodology. I started coaching people in 1993. There weren't really coaches back then. And over the years, I have essentially created a guaranteed way for people to go into a state of quiet mind where they're at peace, even though the world is chaotic and crazy and out of control. There's lots of hate and anger and disruptions. The system that I've developed allows people to go into a quiet, peaceful state no matter what. And so we decided to say that was a master life coach.
I like that. I really like that. I really, really like that, actually. When we need a lot of quietness right now, so more than ever.
Yes. Now would be the time.
Yes, sir. Okay, so explain to us, what is a spiritual teacher and your belief?
Okay. Well, I'm sure there are thousands of different kinds of spiritual teachers. But for me, a spiritual teacher is a person who has had some kind of insight about how to have a wonderful, amazing, delicious, uplifting experience in life. And that's I think I say it contextually like that because that's the kind of teacher that I am. And when I talk about spiritual, I don't necessarily mean religious. What I mean by that is that part of our perspective that is taking in the whole and wondering about creation and who am I and where and what is my place in the world. Those are spiritual questions. And so a spiritual teacher is going to be someone who can help you to come to your own conclusions about those incredibly meaningful questions.
True. Very true. Okay, no, we need our hands held. A lot of people do, to that degree, because it's like sometimes you just don't know what type of questions to ask. So
Well,
it's
for
just,
me, I've had so many mentors,
mhm.
and I find that mentorship in general is just fast tracks. It helps you to
Mhm.
very quickly come to a place
Mhm.
of getting the answers for yourself.
Right. No, that makes sense. I need a mentor. So, any takers? No, I'm just kidding. All right. What made you believe that this is something that you needed to teach to others?
Well, that is a good question. I don't think I intentionally wanted to believe it. When I was a kid, I was going to be a rock star.
Yes.
But when I was 9 years old, I started having these experiences where I felt like I was floating above my body, and I just felt this incredible peace. And the experience was so powerful that
Mm.
as an adult, I was really driven to find a predictable path to get back to that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a feeling that I can only describe as knowing that all is well. And now, after personally coaching thousands of people from Wall Street to Main Street, I've discovered I'm not alone. I mean, most people just want to feel like all is well, no matter what.
Ooh.
And the group that I typically work with, executives, business owners, entrepreneurs, that kind of thing, it's just so powerful for them to have that feeling. And developing a quiet mind is really the way to go. That's the way to do it.
That is the way to go. No, I hear you completely. I mean, wow. I mean, yeah, we just want to belong. That's all we really want, out of life in general, right? Okay, so, can you give us a fair understanding of the need to be enlightened by this message?
Uh, yeah, I don't know if anyone needs to be enlightened, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that people like you and I, and probably your listeners, we're drawn to ideas that are more efficient, more effective, create an ease in life.
Mm-hmm.
The quiet mind state has traditionally been called enlightenment, but for
Mm-hmm.
most people, enlightenment seems impossible. It seems like this sort of rarefied state that maybe just a special few are blessed to achieve.
Right.
But it's not. It's actually attainable. It's very practical.
Mm-hmm.
And my students are really living proof. These are not necessarily people who were thought that they were going to be in this quiet, enlightened state,
Mm.
and yet here they are.
Right.
And
Okay.
let's be honest, right? Life is so much better when you're at peace. Right? When
Right.
you're at
That's
peace with
true.
the political climate, the future of our
Mm-hmm.
nation, your money, your
Mm-hmm.
health, your kids, your marriage, your retirement. I mean, a quiet
Right.
mind is extremely practical.
Yes. Yes. No, it makes sense. I mean, I think for the most part, with everything kind of happening, and different things like that, a lot of people get into a space where it's not as quiet because they don't want to be alone with their thoughts because the fear of thinking of what they would only dread to think. So, they get themselves in an uproar and go for the loudest thing just to drown out their own insecurities, right? Something along that
Well,
line.
and those, I mean, let's be honest, those insecurities are incredibly valuable
Mm-hmm.
when you're in an actual survival situation.
True.
But sitting at home in front of your computer reading Facebook posts is not a survival situation. Yet it activates all of those survival components in us.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is about learning how to effectively contextualize, to put those into a perspective where you understand that other people are in survival states and you don't need to join them there. And when you do that, your mind gets progressively quieter and quieter and quieter. You feel more and more peace.
Wow. Okay. No, that makes sense. If we just let everything be and just kind of get into our own space, then we'll find that quietness kind of, right? Would you say?
Well, yeah, I would say that it's that's very difficult to do when you're at Thanksgiving dinner or you're
Oh
on a
yeah.
Zoom call with your boss and your team and the people that you work with.
True.
And so then the question becomes, what is the empowering framework and
True.
that allows you to have chaos and negativity and anger and resentment and people discounting your opinion?
Mm-hmm.
What is that contextual framework that allows you to be at peace in the face of all of that? And that's really what the rapid enlightenment process is all about.
Right. Okay. Okay. All right. That sounds juicy to me. I'm ready to
Yeah,
go.
let me think about it. Yes.
What do you think the misconception is about what you do?
I would say that the misconception that people run into is that somehow the enlightened state is rarefied, that it's not available to anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and that in some way what I do has some kind of religious uh, spin to it, and that religion, that is, if it has a religious spin, then in some way it contradicts other religious practices. But in
Mm-hmm.
fact, the thing that I do is help a person to actually be even more aligned with whatever it is that they want to believe, and to
Okay.
not feel the discontent or the disconnect or the fear or the concern
Mm-hmm.
that what they believe may not be true or that other beliefs might be threatening.
Right. Oh, wow. No, that makes sense. Okay. Okay. No, that makes complete sense. Oh, okay. So, what are you hoping to accomplish in doing what you're doing?
I'm hoping to proliferate a methodology that is very practical,
Mhm.
and that in my world it's a four-step process, and that it helps people to get their mind to quiet down, to reduce the worry and the stress that people are experiencing, so that they can
Mhm.
focus on taking action on the things that actually matter,
Right.
and do it while being completely at peace,
Yes.
and to be able to do things as they are meant to be done without having to manipulate other people, or feeling like they're behind, or feeling like they're less than, or having to puff themselves up and have all this pride like they need to be important, to be able to take those old models of reality and say there was a time when those were important, but we are
Mhm.
no longer threatened. Basically what is going to kill most people these days is what they eat and their stress.
True.
And therefore all of the built-in survival strategies don't really make sense anymore.
Wow. No. Wow. You dropped the bike on that one, sir. You did.
Mic drop.
It was. It really was. I mean, you know what? The type of people that actually follow me actually needs to hear that. More often than not. And I don't know. Like I don't get it sometimes. I guess with people being so um just diligent in the fact that people would know best or better than you, and then just telling you anything. And I'm like, why? Why would you do something like that, or allow them to, say the things that they say, and then you take that to heart and you believe it without really researching? So that's like usually what I'm talking about. It's like, hey, no, wait, where in the Bible does that say? Have you seen this for yourself? And if you have, what did it say to you and not to whomever told you? Because, of course, like everybody has their own interpretation of any and everything. So
Did
why would you
Jesus
believe?
did Jesus say it? That's my
Right,
that's my general response. Did Jesus say it? If
right,
Jesus was here, would he do it that way?
right,
And usually the answer is no.
right,
And most people haven't actually spent much time really trying to understand, well, what did Jesus actually say? And it was
right.
wonderful that all the other
Mm-hmm.
people, wrote their interpretations. But when
Mm-hmm.
you boil it down, kindness, acceptance,
Yeah.
love, compassion, being
Mm-hmm.
peaceful,
Yeah.
honoring other people, letting people live their lives exactly the way that they want,
Exactly.
non-judgment. I mean, that's
Mhm.
the game.
Your free will. That's what it is. It's freedom. You have the right. If you have the right to believe what you believe, others have the right to believe what they want to believe. And that's what I
Well,
say.
if we step back, Jesus changed the world,
Yes.
and he changed the world with some very simple concepts that even kindergartners get today.
Mm-hmm.
And if each of us spent time focusing on just one of those ideas for a month or two, if we just
Right.
practice acceptance for a
Mm-hmm.
month, it would profoundly change your entire life, and you would
Right.
experience such incredible bliss and ease and flow and peace. You would be in such a groovy state. Highly
Right.
recommended.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can have a whole nother conversation on that one, sir. We really can. That would
Yeah,
be
I
amazing.
don't normally comment on religious topics, but I am
No.
a huge fan of
Mm-hmm.
Jesus,
Right.
and many other of the profound luminaries of our past. But I think
Mhm.
that the game really is to look and see, well, what were the similarities, and the similarities were there. It's so obvious.
Mhm. Mhm.
Be kind. Let
Right.
go of being right. Stop
Right.
being so arrogant. Your
Exactly.
pride is not working for you. You don't know any better than anybody else. Everything that you are saying, you're making up. You're a storytelling genius, and none of it is real.
I love it. I love it. I don't care what anybody say. I love it. Okay. Yes. Another time.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, um, okay. So you wrote the book. You wrote a book, and I wrote it down somewhere. Don't ask me where
I'll
on my
show it
desk
to you
it
right here. I
is.
happen to have a copy of it right here. Quiet Mind, Epic Life.
Yes.
Escape the
Yes.
status quo and experience enlightened prosperity now.
And what is that generally? Because I don't want to give too much away. What is it about?
Well, it is essentially the four-step process to get the mind to quiet down. And
Mm,
so for example, step one is to acknowledge your mind is not your friend.
mm,
Nobody else calls you fat and stupid and ugly and puts you down as much as your mind. And if you start to recognize that your mind is actually a survival tool and that all of those negative thoughts are a part of the software that helped your ancestors to survive longer, when you see it in that way, it's
mm,
easier to stop listening. Then
yeah.
step two is to recognize that there's a motive for thought, and I call those the 10 hidden motives to survive: greed,
Mhm,
grudge, hatred, victim, illogical rules, humble, traitor, resistance, pride. And when one of those things are present, your mind is talking, you're not in a state of peace, things don't feel right.
right.
Step three is enlightened perspectives, and those are just perspectives that assume that all is well.
Mhm,
And then step four is to practice something called recontextualization, which is essentially the skill of relanguaging things such that you are experiencing an empowering context rather than
mm.
a disempowering or disabling context. So my book goes through how to actually do that.
Okay. Okay. Wow. That's deep. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. So this muscle testing school,
Yeah.
in what way are you involved in that?
Okay, that's a good question. Well, let's talk about what muscle testing is and what it isn't.
Mm,
Muscle testing is essentially a tool that has been used for hundreds and hundreds of years in alternative medicine and in many countries. For example, if the kids come with you to the marketplace, you put the piece of fruit on the kid's chest and then you push on their arm to see if it's strong or weak. And if it's weak, you don't buy it. If it's strong, you buy it. And it seems like it might be some mystical tool, but it's not actually. And in the end, your body is some sort of an energetic phenomenon. And when you interact with things, it makes you go strong and weak. So if I asked you, for example, hey, why don't you carry around this radioactive material for the next week? You'd be like, hell no, I'm not doing that. Right? Because that, that does not seem smart, Matthew.
right.
But what is fascinating to me is that there are thoughts that we have that are equally toxic. So the radioactive material has some interplay with your cells that degrades your cells and destroys you.
Mm,
And interestingly enough, you can distinguish what thoughts have a degrading effect using muscle testing. So you can hold thoughts in mind and test muscles and discover, oh, wow, that makes me weak. So it's an interesting tool that I use, and some of my students want to learn it. So I've created a school to teach them how to do that.
oh, no, that's interesting. Never even thought about it that
I know
way.
it's crazy. My mentor is a man named Dr. David Hawkins, and he wrote a book called Power versus Force. And Power versus Force is one of those books that is so transformational that Mother Teresa wrote a testimonial about it, and the head of all of the Buddhist monks in Korea wrote a testimonial. It's like this incredibly diverse group of spiritual leaders all pointed to this book and said, "Whoa, that changes the game." And truth is, it did change the game.
Hmm, is interesting. Okay, now I want to know more. Heck. So the muscle testing school, that is interesting. Very interesting. I mean, where would you even come across anything like that? I am so intrigued.
Well, for me, I was hosting a mastermind, which is like
Mm-hmm.
a group of people all come together and we brainstorm and think and
Of
try
course.
to uplift each other. And
Mhm.
we invited Dr. Wayne Dyer to come and speak to our group. And when Wayne was there, he basically said, 100% you have to read this book. And I said, I don't really read books. I like to listen to them. Is there an audiobook? And he said, there's no audiobook and you're reading it. And I was like, okay, well, if Wayne Dyer tells me I have to read a book, I'm reading it.
Right.
So I read the book. It was literally the very first book that I ever read twice. I finished the last word and then I thought to myself, whoa, and started
Mm.
again.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and it completely changed my perspective. Dr. Hawkins did his thesis work utilizing muscle testing as a framework to discern consciousness and to measure consciousness.
Wow. That is interesting. Okay, okay. Sold. I'll try to read the book.
Get ready.
Is there still
You'll need some
no
Advil
audio?
because it's going to hurt your head.
Oh, still no audio, huh? Okay.
No, there is an audio now. Yeah, they
Oh,
do.
thank God.
Yeah, there is an audio now.
Because if it doesn't have, is it bad that you multitask now and with the audio book and you're like, oh no, I did read that book. But you know
I don't
you did
think so.
everything else.
Yeah, like I love to drive and listen or walk and listen or
Okay.
I always want to learn.
Yes.
When your
No, I
mind
hear
goes
you.
quiet, it's this is an interesting thing that happens. When your mind goes quiet, you stop being interested in quote personal development. And
Mm,
because when your mind goes quiet, you suddenly recognize that you are whole, complete, and perfect exactly as you are in all of your imperfection, and that perfection or imperfection is an arbitrary judgment created
mhm.
by a arbitrary judgment machine going on in your head that's just trying to ascertain how to stay alive longer. Like so when your mind goes quiet, you're like, "Oh wow, I'm good." But then because you are an avid learner anyways, you're like, well, what else can I learn about? And now you want to learn everything. And there's no
True.
resistance to any of it. It's really
Mhm.
fun.
Oh wow. Okay. I'm really intrigued because it's like um when you think about because my husband he loves to just think of nothing because I go, babe, what are you thinking about? Nothing. You can't be thinking about nothing. Absolutely nothing. Why are you torturing me in this way? And it's like, babe, I really not thinking of anything. I'm like, I don't believe you. And I'll just walk out the room. But I mean, there's a thing. I'm like, I didn't think that was a thing. Like just having nothing because usually I guess I'm so used to being busy. If I'm not reading a book, if I'm not, reading an article, if I'm not just, listening to something that's gonna, educate me. And I'm like, why would you want to ever not be thinking about anything?
Well, there's great freedom in it. And there's also then the choice, thinking by choice. And so
True.
when your mind goes quiet, it's not that you don't think about things. It's
Right.
that you think about things on purpose rather than
Mm,
being driven to think about things. And so you're able to be in a state of peace and flow and joy
right.
and really be in a state of enjoyment as you are intentionally doing things.
Right. No, that makes sense. Okay. Okay. You sold me on that one. All right, sir. Well, if there's anything else you would like my Mayan tribe to know, the floor is yours.
I would love to ask your tribe to focus on one thing for the next week and see what happens. And that
Mm,
is to practice total and complete acceptance of all
mm,
people in all situations, at all times, including yourself. and to let go of the idea that you're the ruler of the universe and that you know how people are supposed to behave. You actually don't know anything. Everything you say you know, someone else told you, or you interpreted through your experience, and that doesn't make it so. So what you spend your time lamenting is actually an illusion. It's something that you're resisting. And what you can do is go into a state of peace and flow. And when you do, your creativity is going to explode. Your resourcefulness, your energy, your drive, your excitement, your enthusiasm for life will go up exponentially when you stop wasting your time pretending like you know. Practice total and complete acceptance of all people in all situations at all times, including yourself.
Wow. Another drop the mic moment. It's like, okay, exit stage left now. Thank you so much for your time and your energies. I appreciate you so much. OMG, did y'all hear this? Did y'all hear? Okay, you know what? I need to put this up on whatever and every platform that I have. It has to go down because this is just so, just a pivotal moment in time that we need to hear, and it's not just my tribe. It is just everyone. If I need to, I don't know, if I got to shout it to the rooftops, sir, I'm going to, because just, hey, look, this is what happened in that whole week when I focused on that one thing and everything else just kind of seemed to not exist anymore. That one thing was the only thing that was still there. So, I mean, wow, that's good. That's good stuff there. That's good stuff. So tell my Mayan tribe how to get a hold of you.
I think probably the simplest way is to go to my website. It's just my name, MatthewFerry.com, MatthewFerry.com. And I think a couple of fun things to do. One is to download my free app. And in it, I have some practices that you can do every single day to get into a good state. Another thing you can do is go to Amazon and grab my book, Quiet Mind, Epic Life.
Yes. Oh, wow. Oh, he does have a podcast, y'all. Listen, I'm telling you, I know you love me, but you'll love him too. You'll love him too. Certainly. Thank you so much for your energies and your time and wow, the outlook that you gave. I appreciate it. Well, thank you so much again, Mayan Tribe, for your awesome support and everything. If you have any ideas, any questions, or just want to say hi, hit me up on my email, oneladymyya@gmail.com, and that's MYYA, and you'll know why. Because I'm special. Thank you, and I will see you guys later. Understand why this doesn't want to stop.